Welcome to another edition of Wouldn't You Like to Know? Still have Tom in the hot seat here, so want to get his thoughts on a couple of other things. Tom, as you know, we're big on assessments and building your team by design, not leaving it to chance. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about DISC profiles in the CFO position. You're very familiar with DISC. You used it previously. What are your thoughts on maybe what is a preferred DISC profile for someone in that CFO role?
Well, I can tell you what mine is. I tend to be a high S, high C. And I think most people that work in financial groups also tend to be a high S, high C. I have kind of a middle of the road I and a fairly low D. I think that works well for a CFO. I think what's also important, though, is we spent a lot of time at the most recent company I was at, working with DISC. And what's important is as a CFO, you've got to know the personality types of your audience. Your audience is probably other executive management team, maybe a board of directors. And in order to communicate to them in a succinct way, because a lot of them are not high S's, high C's, how do you communicate to them what are the numbers and what do they mean? And I think that I spent a lot of time the last decade figuring out how best to do that for people that weren't wired like I was.
Yeah, I definitely think you have to be high C, right? The accounting world, you need compliance, you need rule followers, you don't want a rogue accountant in there. That's probably how we get Enron and some of that stuff.
That's exactly it.
I would argue having a low D is an advantage as well, because you're going to be slow to act, which is, again, I think is good in the financial world. You're not going to overreact. You're not going to respond to one little data point and totally throw the baby out with the bathwater because of one little thing. So, and I agree, the I, reporting out to other executives, being able to communicate a telling story to employees about maybe a part of the business most of them don't understand, is very important as well.
Right, and I think that just to add on to your that low D, I worked with a lot of high Ds, and they would come to me with a question and want an answer right away. And as a CFO, it's sometimes dangerous to answer right away because you need to know, what do the numbers say? And the way I'm wired, I'd always say, well, I'm going to have to get back to you. I got to look at what the numbers say before I get back to you. I'm not going to just answer off the top of my head and go. And I think that's important for CFOs.
And I think that's the importance of the DISC and understanding the DISC as a company. If I'm a high D and I'm constantly asking you and you're saying, well, I'm going to have to check the numbers. If I don't understand the DISC and not familiar with it, I'm going to be sitting there going, this guy doesn't know what the hell he's doing.
Right, what's he doing?
Why can't he answer my question? Why does he always have to go check the numbers? Why doesn't he just know them? Yeah. And I think that's, again, why we think testing and making the DISC and Working Genius common across the organization is, okay, I just understand that's how Tom operates. Yeah. I'm now not going to get frustrated with that answer. I'm actually going to be like, okay, he's actually going to go research it. And I know the information is going to be correct and accurate, so I can trust what Tom tells me, versus if we don't know about the DISC and we're just kind of winging it, I think I would just assume this guy doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know any of his numbers.
Right.
What's he do all day long?
That's right. Yeah, we spent a lot of time. And I think we got to a point where on our executive team, we all understood how each of us operated. And they expected that from me then, was if they're going to ask me a question, they know they're going to get the right answer, but it's probably not going to be right away.
Yeah.
I need to think about it, or I need to go research it.
Which, again, I would argue in that role, you want the person to take the extra time. Give me the right answer, good, bad, or ugly.
Yep.
Switching a little bit, we also use Working Genius. I think, again, we always say the DISC and Working Genius, they work together. You can't really have one without the other. I believe your Working Genius is discernment and enablement.
Yes.
And your frustrations are galvanizing and invention.
Yeah, which I think is, suited me well for being a CFO. I think the discernment piece of that, not all financial people are high on the discernment, but I think as a CFO, you have to connect the dots. It's not just figuring out what the numbers are and presenting them to everybody. It's figuring out what the numbers are, and then what do those numbers mean? What does this mean for our business? And then, actually being able to see relationships and correlations between different numbers. So I think as a CFO, discernment, and in my case, enablement was, I always viewed it as I wasn't really doing the work per se. I had a whole team of people that were doing the work, and I spent a lot of time making sure that they had what they need so that they could do the work. And then my job was to look at the numbers, ask questions, and figure out what they mean, and then communicate that to our board of directors and our executive management team.
Yeah, if I was hiring a CFO, I definitely want D to be in their top 2. I definitely want T to probably be in their top 3. And then that second genius could kind of, again, it could be a lot of different things. I would argue you don't want it to be a G because you don't want somebody selling the numbers or selling their story. Right. Again, you kind of want black and white. Here's what it is. Here's what's causing it. Here's where I think we need to do to fix it. Almost cool, calm, and collected versus any sort of, quick to react, quick to make decisions.
Yeah, if you ask your CFO, what are the numbers? And your CFO says, what do you want them to be? You have a problem. You got a problem.
Yeah, good. So yeah, as you go looking for that CFO and bringing a resource on board, again, we can't stress enough, test them. We believe in DISC and Working Genius, but there's a gazillion of them out there. Find out before you even start interviewing what profile you think is going to make the best impact. We kind of think you need that discernment. We think on the Working Genius, we think you need to be high C on the DISC. And then again, that people side of it to be able to present the numbers in a compelling way or to help folks understand the numbers is very important as well.